Hello, and welcome to Sports on the Rocks with Ken Larimer. I'm Ken Larimer, your host, and no, we don't have a blender. We're all out of mint, and the espresso machine on the fritz. So all I'll be serving you is a big glass of what is happening around the sports world. On today's episode, Taylor Swift watches a football game. I hate the Cowboys. Ohio State's coach wants to fight an old man. Megan Rapinoe's final knee. Monday Night Football goes 0-2. My NFL Week 3 no-cap recap. And of course, last call. But first, the biggest news around the sports world from the weekend. The Dolphins buck the Broncos. My Dolphins. Final score 70-20. Dolphins over the Broncos. The Denver Broncos. That's a scoregami. Scoregami, of course, a score that has never before happened in the NFL. 70-20. The Dolphins become the fourth team in the NFL to throw up 70-plus points in a game, behind the 1940 Bears, who hold the record at 73, the 1966 Washington football team with 72, and the 1950 Rams with 70. Mike McDaniel and the Miami Dolphins, of course, have a chance to tie the record with a last-minute field goal, choosing instead to kneel the ball down on fourth and whatever. Okay with that decision. The crowd, however, booing them off the field after throwing up 70 points. The crowd, of course, wanting to tie that record. I would have been a fan of tying that record as well. But I'm okay with kneeling it. Worse things have happened. The Dolphins have scored more points than the Broncos have all season. So that could happen. The Broncos scoring a total of 69 points all season in 3 total games. The Dolphins' total yards through 3 games is the most in NFL history to date. 1,651 yards of total offense. The Dolphins also the first team in NFL history with 5 passing touchdowns and 5 rushing touchdowns in a single game. Incredible. Almost sounds like they are on their way to the Super Bowl, but you didn't hear it here first. Second most yards in total offense in a game by the Miami Dolphins with 726. Only behind the 1951 Battle Rams with 735. Who could forget that 1951 Rams team? Am I right? Or am I right? Not everybody excited about the 70 points put up by the Miami Dolphins, specifically Broncos lineman Garrett Bowles, who reacted post-game to the loss when asked by reporters.
Right now, what are the emotions like going through your head personally?
Shit. Shit. It's tired of losing, man. I've been here for 7 years and all I've done is loss, and it's frustrating.
Frustrating indeed. The stats for this game are absolutely insane, as you would expect. I told you last week, Raheem Mostert, probably the best running back in the league, posting 13 carries, 82 yards, 3 touchdowns. Doesn't sound like that much, with the exception of the 3 touchdowns. However, also throwing up 7 receptions, 60 yards, and another touchdown. Targeted 7 times in the run game, something the Dolphins have been looking for a long time. A running back that could run and catch. Usually we split the backfield and get one of each. But Raheem Mostert, not the only person coming out of the backfield and having a spectacular day. 3rd-round pick and rookie Devon Achane getting 18 carries for 203 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. He had a long of 67 that was a spectacular run, adding 4 receptions and 30 yards and another 2 touchdowns on 4 targets, long of 17. The stats are just unbelievable. Through the half, I got the update too, had a perfect passer rating. In the game, 23 of 26, 309 yards, 4 touchdowns. Mike White even getting a look in this game. 2 for 2, 67 yards and a touchdown. Good for Mike White. Fantastic game. I enjoyed watching every minute of it. as most Dolphins fans did. And this was one of the Dolphin games that I think everybody enjoyed watching. I don't know outside of Denver if anybody really likes the Broncos, nor do they like Russell Wilson, especially with those terrible Subway commercials that he had. I turned the game on, a little late trying to figure out YouTube TV, turned the game on, and just in time to catch Tyreek Hill catching a 54-yard touchdown pass. What made it spectacular and exciting, other than the fact that we scored in like under a minute, was that he hops into the stands and jumps up and down with the fans. Tyreek Hill, man of the people. Love it. Again, Dolphins really trying to continue to prove everybody wrong. Tua Tagovailoa. Oh, say that 10 times. Not an analyst darling. The spread, Dolphins were -6.5. Denver was a big, sharp, and better favorite, being picked across the board by almost every smart bettor that I could find on the internet, taking the +6.5. Some even making it a mortal lock. Stupid. Do not bet against the Dolphins this year. The spreads may look funny. Do not bet against the Dolphins this year. Anything under 7, I believe they're going to cover no problem. No doubt in my mind they win almost every game against an equivalent or lesser than opponent by at least a touchdown. Comments surfacing from Broncos head coach Sean Payton that he made almost 364 days to the day of the game where he gets beat by 50 points by the Dolphins, really diminishing Tua and his abilities, and the fact that Teddy Bridgewater would become the quarterback and Tua would be benched. Let's take a listen to those comments.
I think at some point we'll see Tua in Miami. I think at some point, and they played well yesterday with Tua, but Teddy Bridgewater, I've had before, he's an outstanding player. And I think that's one of the unique things this year. I counted 8 teams where I believe we're going to see multiple quarterbacks play, not relative to injury, but just a controversy, if you will.
Well, that's a shame. Sean Payton, probably one of the better coaches in the NFL's history, had a bad take when he wasn't coaching. Who would have thought? But overall, probably one of the most historic Dolphin games of all time. And was a fun game to watch as both a fan of the team and a fan of football. But not the biggest news story of the NFL day, if you could believe that. Transitioning into my next segment, titled, I Swift Domination. Taylor Swift breaks the NFL by appearing in a box at Arrowhead Stadium, next to Donna Kelce, Travis's mother, cheering on her rumored romantic interest, Travis Kelce. Now, if you're just coming out from underneath a rock and are not privy to all the Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce news, quick timeline. Story goes back to July when Swift played Arrowhead in her concert series, and Kelce attended and spoke of his desire to meet her at the show. I quote him saying, "I was disappointed that she doesn't talk before or after her shows, because she has to save her voice for the 44 songs that she sings." Travis tells this to his brother, Eagles center Jason Kelce, on their podcast, New Heights with Jason and Travis Kelce. Discussing further about wanting to give Swift a friendship bracelet with his number on it. When his brother asked if he meant football or phone number, he replied, "You know which one." On September 20th, Jason was asked about Travis's relationship situation on 94.1 WIP in Philly. And I quote, "I don't really know what's happening in Travis's life. I try to keep out of his business and stay out of that world. But having said that, I think he's doing great. And I think that it's all 100% true." Then, this past Thursday, Travis went on the Pat McAfee show and said he extended an invite to Swift to a Chiefs game. "I told her that I've seen her rock a stage in Arrowhead, and she might have to come see me rock the stage at Arrowhead." Fast forward to this Sunday's matchup between the Bears and the Chiefs, and the Queen of Pop is in attendance, cheering on Kelce and the Chiefs from a private suite sitting next to Travis Kelce's mom, Donna. Packed suite, by the way. I know this because the broadcast went to show Taylor in the box over under probably 1,000 times. Both fans, players, and coaches were surprised by the Fame cameo as videos of Taylor Swift flooded social media and made their way into almost every other NFL game's broadcast. Free promo for Taylor. Probably not an accident. There's actually a video that was posted by Gabriela Hernandez 612 on TikTok and then captioned by miss.petty.lamar on TikTok. It was pretty funny. It showed the exact moment that the Chiefs players and coaches, Kelsey and Mahomes, realized that Taylor was in the stands. Let's take a look.
So it's gonna be forever, or it's gonna go down in flames. You can tell me when it's over, if the high was worth the pain. Got a long list of ex-lovers, they'll tell you I'm insane. Cause you know I love the players, and you love the game.
Kelsey, of course, scores a touchdown after the half. A lock with Swift watching in the box. If you bet it pregame, Kelsey was like minus 140 to score. At the half, shooting up to plus 340-ish. If you locked that in at the half, you were a winner. After the complete whomping of the Bears by the Chiefs, funny content began being leaked online. We take a look at a video via TikTok from Aubrey Curtis 03 that shows Taylor cleaning the box, seemingly trying to make a good impression with her new booze mom. Relatable? I think so.
Cleaning. Am I in the way?
And another one via My Missouri House on IG of Taylor Swift possibly leaving the Kelsey family suite in a popcorn machine. Let's take a look.
She's in the popcorn thing. No, she's in that. She's in that. Just like hers, that's her.
Is she in there?
She's in there like her cleaning supply. That's her. You guys, it's like the broom thing. That was her. We just saw it. Do you know how they pop her?
Yes!
In? That was her. That's her.
Sneaky, sneaky, sneaky. And another one. This coming from Jarrett Payton, at Payton Son on Twitter. Probably the sneakiest of all the videos. Payton found himself in the tunnels of Arrowhead Stadium and just so happened to see Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce leaving the game together through these tunnels.
Hey,
How you doing?
Hey,
How you doing?
What an outfit by Travis Kelce. Looks like he showed up in white denim and got in a fight with Jackson Pollock. The funny online content about the two has just begun. Travis Kelce saw his jersey sales spike 400% after the game. Swifties with fantasy football teams making a mad dash to trade for Kelce, rooting on their woman's man. Lots of memes breaking down what football is, comically of course. And this tweet from Smart Football, at Smart Football on Twitter. Smart Football does a lot of good breakdowns of game film, some good content, check them out. And I quote, "The Swifties solved 33 million puzzles in less than 24 hours just to get the 1989 Vault track list. They will be drawing up intricate tactics designed to get Kelce open against Red 7 coverage by this Thursday." Ain't that the truth? Personally, not a huge fan of Taylor Swift. Not a hater, though, because haters are going to hate. Big fan of Travis Kelce. I love his passion. He has won me plenty of bets with his touchdown catches. Love watching him in every Super Bowl he's played in. I think it's good for the game. It'll grow the game. It'll grow interest in the game from people that are not necessarily football fans. That might be annoying to some football fans, but not to me. The more the merrier. Let's all have fun and enjoy some NFL football. Maybe don't cut to Taylor Swift 1,000 times during the game. We've seen her. We know what she looks like. We don't need to see her celebrate every play. Moving on. Monday Night Football goes 0-2. They keep giving us these double features on Monday night, and boy, are they not good. And I don't know if that's why they're giving us 2 games. I'm not going to say stop giving us 2 games, but maybe give us one of the 2 good games. I don't know. First game, Eagles at Bucks. Are the Bucks bad or are the Eagles really good? Por qué no los dos? Bucks were plus 5.5. Over-under was 44.5. Final, Eagles 25, Bucks 11. Guess what? Another scoregami. This scoregami was number 1078, and that would make the Dolphins scoregami 1077 for those keeping count. Highlight of the game, Mike Evans had a fantastic one-handed catch in the air. He goes up, one hand over the receiver, catches it, doesn't even get tackled, hits the ground, catches his legs underneath him, and then actually fell down on his own. Great catch in a loss, unfortunately for them. The Eagles dominated this game. It wasn't even close. I'm an idiot. I liked the Buccaneers plus 5.5. I loved the under. The under was good. DeAndre Swift, 16 carries, 130 yards. He had a long of 29. A.J. Brown, 9 receptions, 131 yards, 14 targets. 14 targets. It's been kind of quiet lately, so it was a matter of time before he got his feet under him. Baker Mayfield, however, on the Buccaneers side, returning to earth. 15 of 25, 146 yards, a touchdown and an interception. Got sacked twice, was constantly under pressure. Looked like Baker Mayfield of old. He fumbles in the game as well, but again, he was under pressure the entire game. I talked highly of Rachaad White last week. He had a few strong runs, but was limited to 38 yards on 14 carries, even threw in a fumble for good measure. The game was pretty blah. Was kind of close at the half. We got 13-3. It looked like, Tampa Bay's defense could step up. They could cover the spread. They're probably not going to win. Mike Evans got a touchdown in this game, so my anytime touchdown bettors who are grabbing Mike Evans, you're a winner. 10 targets, though, only 5 receptions for 60 yards. Jalen Hurts got intercepted twice, but who cares? 1 rushing touchdown, 1 passing touchdown, 28 yards on the ground. The Eagles look like they're ready to go back to the Super Bowl. I think we'll probably get something like Eagles-Niners again in the NFC, but only time will tell. One thing I know for sure, please, please do not give us the Bucks in primetime again. Love, Ken. Next game, probably the game I was more excited of out of the 2, but I would like to white out this game, much like the Bengals whited out their stadium. Love the white Bengal jerseys. I would love to make a serious bet on the Cincinnati Bengals and have it come through so I could add a Joe Burrow white Bengal jersey to the rafters, much like my Najee Harris jersey. Bengals in this game -3, the over-under 45.5. Final, Bengals 19, Rams 16. Again, another kind of boring game. You get to 30, 35 points in a Monday night game. Not the most exciting. Highlight for me was the Tutu Atwell 24-yard touchdown where he is running up the right sideline, dives for the pylon, insane touchdown. It really sparked the game. You're like, wow, we are getting ready for some offense. Oh, wait, they said he stepped out of bounds like 5 yards previous, and the drive ends in a field goal. Replaying that play 100 times, I could see where they thought he stepped out of bounds, but he didn't. So taking away probably one of the best plays of the game, taking away the momentum to make this Monday night game interesting. Instead, we get 6 field goals, a missed field goal, 11 punts, and 3 interceptions. Wasn't that fun? And Joe Burrow? Joe Burrow, who's been hurt for like a year now, and then they rushed onto the field and, instead of giving him like 3 or 4 weeks off, keeping they're fine in that division. they trot him out there and he looks terrible. Overthrowing, underthrowing. When he gets hit, he's taking longer and longer to get up after each hit. Oh, and the wincing. The wincing is a lot. Every time you get hit, he's like, oh, he gets up. He's like, oh, he's holding this, he's holding that. Joe Burrow's geriatric at this point. I think he's like 26 years old. Adding insult to injury, Jamar Chase had those comments all week. It was almost a guarantee that he was going to get the ball this week. They were not going to let him go on every news outlet and Twitter and complain again this week. 15 targets, 12 catches, 141 yards, a long of 43. He was the shining spot in this game of an otherwise really boring game. Watching Jamar Chase run around in the Bengal white jerseys, oh, it was fantastic. He had no touchdowns, however, but boy did he try. Unlike Higgins, however, who looks ready to be traded. I saw some comments on Twitter and on social media about how if they lost this week, Higgins would probably be the first person to hit the trade market. Teams were definitely interested in T. Higgins. If anything, he could be a number one on most teams in the NFL. He's a number two behind Jamar Chase, who arguably is the top 3 wide receivers in the NFL, along with maybe Stephon Diggs and Tyreek Hill, in any order. For me, Tyreek Hill, number 1. Mixon looked better this week. And the offensive line's still kind of struggling. But Mixon found some holes. Got 65 yards and a touchdown on 19 carries. Like I said, the O-line was still struggling. Though the Rams' D is not bad. If anything, their defensive line is good. But it's hard to tell, you know. I would like to see the Bengals, maybe play a bad defensive line. And they should have that coming up soon. Taking a look at the schedule, they do have the Titans, the Cardinals, the Seahawks in order at the 49ers, and then hosting the Bills the following week. Those would be tough. But the Bengals D racking up 6 sacks in this game. Should have been 7, but there was a face mask penalty on the cornerbacks and one of the sacks late. So 7, but 6 official sacks. Bright spot for the Rams. Defense still looks good. Couple sacks and interceptions. The offense is anemic. They rushed Burrow the whole game, which probably was the reason for some of his overthrows and underthrows. He was kind of under pressure the whole time. Puka Nacua, gathering 5 receptions on 7 targets for 72 yards. His longest was a 37-yard catch. Came at the end of the game and resulted in a touchdown to Tutu Atwell. Rams lead the lead in great named wide receivers. And they're young, too. Again, Matt Stafford playing on this team. I feel like just biding time. They're not going to make the playoffs. They're not going to make the Super Bowl. They might have a winning record. I don't know how much longer Matt Stafford has, or if he makes it through the whole year not injured. But we will find out together. But that wraps up this Monday Night Football double feature. Again, 0-2. These games were terrible. My picks were okay. Love the unders in these games. Had the Bengals minus 2.5. And my lone loss was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers plus 5.5, which was probably one of the worst picks of the week. But that takes us to my next segment. My no-cap recap, NFL Week 3. Falcons at Lions. Welcome back to planet Earth, Atlanta. Lions minus 3 over and under 47. Final, Lions 20, Falcons 6. Highlight of the game, the Lions D. The Lions D came to play. 7 sacks. They hold Bijan Robinson, who I talked about very highly last week. Still a beast, but Detroit holding him to 44 yards. Detroit holding Atlanta's offense to 6 punts, 2 field goals, a missed field goal, a fumble, and respond to a golf interception on the next drive with a 4-play turnover on downs. Score was 3-13 at the start of the fourth quarter. Falcons tied for first in the NFC South with the Saints, the Bucks, the Panthers, who are 0-3 and probably their season is over, playing for a first-round pick again. Lions, not impressive in this game, but resilient. Boy, were they resilient. Golf runs for 1, he throws for 1, no sacks. Offensive line stepping up. Jamar Gibbs rushes for 17 carries, 80 yards, 4.7 yards per carry. Beast. Busting out a 21-yarder as well. Amon-Ra St. Brown continues his domination of the NFL. 12 targets, 9 receptions, 102 yards. Atlanta is struggling mightily. You feel for Kyle Pitts. 5 receptions, 41 yards. He's targeted 9 times. Endless overthrows. This guy is wide open, streaming down the field, and just like 5 yards over his head. And he's got space to run, and he's quick. The running game, like I said, with Bijan Robinson, just non-existent on the day. And it was a close game. Like I said, 13-3 at the half. No score in the third quarter. Really came down to the fourth quarter, and Atlanta just could not put points on the board. Moving on, Chargers at Vikings. This game had me asking, which team wants to win on the last play in the fourth quarter again? Well, the Vikings were plus 1.5, basically a pick 'em. Over under 54.5. Seemed like a lock. This is a game that goes over 99 out of 100 times. Final, Chargers 28, Vikings 24. 950 total yards in this game, with each team logging, interestingly enough, the exact same amount of yards. 475, 475, 950. Chargers really miss Eckler in this game. Bad. Only putting up 30 rushing yards. Joshua Kelly's doing his best, averaging 1.1. Let me say that again. 1.1 yards per carry. I think, give me a shot of adrenaline and I could put up at least 1.2 yards per carry. I'm putting up 75-pound dumbbells now. The least I could do is 1.2 yards per carry. Keenan Allen, finally healthy. He's had this lingering hamstring injury, what seems like since he was a baby. And I'm sure this hamstring injury, knock on wood, is right around the corner. For his sake, I hope not. But he looks good. Unfortunately for Mike Williams, his season is over. Injury coming in the third quarter. Tears his ACL. Add it to the list. Keenan Allen, 20 targets in Mike Williams' absence. 18 receptions, 215 yards. No touchdowns. Mike Williams and Joshua Palmer taking those. Justin Herbert having a game. 40 of 47, 405 yards, 3 touchdowns, only taking 1 sack. Getting the ball out of his hands quick. Highlight of the game, for me, Chargers linebacker Kenneth Murray Jr., another Kenneth, mark it. Intercepts the ball on 1st and goal with 12 seconds left. Cousins forces the ball to Hockenson, who flips it up with the defender right on him. It's one of those pick plays at the 1, and he just forced it in. And then it was a tip drill. Kenneth Murray Jr., another Ken, comes down with it, and they win the game. Game over. Came down to the last play. Like usual, it was like clockwork. You could always, if there was a way to bet that the Chargers and the Vikings would come down to a last-second play to win the game and hit the over, I would bet that. I don't know what the odds would be. Probably terrible. Minus 250. Alexander Mattison logging 20 carries, 93 yards rushing. They definitely do not miss Dalvin Cook, who is on the Jets and you haven't heard from all year. Justin Jefferson having himself a game. 7 receptions, 149 yards and a touchdown, 13 targets. I wasn't watching every play of this game, but I'd like to know where those 6 targets went. Why did he not catch them? Hockenson, solid pick if you're in fantasy or doing daily fantasy. Solid pick for a tight end. Seems to always get touches. 8 receptions, 78 yards, was targeted 11 times in this game. But Keenan Allen and Mike Williams really, really showing up in this game. Combined over 330 yards receiving. Cousins in a loss, 32 for 50, 367 yards, a touchdown and an interception. Again, that interception coming to end the game. It was an exciting game. It was one of the last games to finish up for the 1 p.m. games. So if you were watching Red Zone, it really stuck on it. If you had the quad going like I did on YouTube TV, You kept it there. You did not leave it. And they kept us on the edge of our seats just till the end. But the Chargers winning, covering, and that score going under again on the last play. Next game up, Patriots at Jets. And I'm calling this the WAF game. Yeah, you fucking with some wet-ass field. Bring a bucket and a mop with this wet-ass field. Jets plus 2.5. Over and under 35.5. That under was the lock of the weekend. You knew it was going to rain. You knew Ophelia was coming through. The announcers loved saying Ophelia. Ophelia, tropical storm that made its way up the coast this weekend. The rain was constant. The field was wet. They kept talking about how the logo was smudged. It's like the announcers had OCD. They're like, they're like, the logo, look how wet it is. The logo is smudged. It's like, get over it. Pats 15, Jets 10. Highlight of the game for me, the end. It was not an exciting game to watch. You feel bad for Zach Wilson at this point. He was supposed to just ride the bench all year and hopefully learn from whoever the hell the veteran quarterback was that they were going to bring in. And instead, he's posting 18 for 36 games with 150 yards. He's taking 3 sacks. Dalvin Cook, who I mentioned before, 8 carries, 18 yards. Breece Hall, who's healthy, 12 carries, 18 yards, doing nothing in a rain game. The Patriots, not all that exciting either. Mac Jones, 15 for 29, 201 yards, 1 touchdown. Zeke, getting some carries, getting some touches, a little spicy. 16 carries, 80 yards, had a long run of 14. Ramondre Stevenson even getting in the mix, 19 carries, so leading the carries pack, but only 59 yards and along at 10. The receivers not really showing up. Nobody making a splash. Water joke. Ooh. Salah with some post-game comments that might be worrisome, that he's so clueless, or he's sticking up for his quarterback. By the way, stuff like he's not the reason we lost today. He's not the reason you almost won either. He's our unquestioned quarterback. Yeah, because you don't have another one. There was some news coming out about quarterbacks expressing interest. Quarterbacks like Carson Wentz, who doesn't have a team and has been practicing in every one of his team's articles of clothing all summer. Matt Ryan, who's been in the booth looking handsome as ever. Matt Ryan also coming out and saying, I'm actually not interested, especially after watching that last game. All of this QB talk, though, has me remembering Zach Wilson's comments when they signed Aaron Rodgers during the summer.
You said you're a competitor, so if they come to you in March and say, look, we're going to keep you, we like you, we're going to develop you, but we're signing veteran X to be our starter, how would you feel?
Yeah, I'm gonna make that dude's life hell in practice every day. You know, I'm gonna go out there and do my best to just show the coaches that I deserve to be there, and you know, and it's not in a negative way, it's a positive way. It's making everybody else, you know, better, hopefully.
If there's anybody's life hell he's making, it's the New York Jets fans and all of his teammates. Jets defense playing like the Jets defense, though. Really holding the Patriots, who are not an offensive juggernaut, but in a rain game, keeping them to 15, keeping the Jets in the game, really, until the last drive of the game. But if you thought Sauce Gardner looked a little off his game, it might have been because of his meal he had a couple days before, made by the viral bodega sandwich maker, Raheem Mohammed, better known as General Ak, who creates his Aki Way style sandwiches in Red Hook, Brooklyn. This video comes from raw_money1, which is the TikTok account of Raheem Mohammed.
That sauce, man, help you today.
Yo, Ak, let me get a chopped cheese, sausage, egg, and cheese on a honey bun, the Aki way.
Sure.
First, you slap the burger on the grill.
Then we hit it with the peppers. Then we slap the turkey bacon on the grill. Then we add the sausage to the grill. Then we crack 2 eggs.
I hit that for 2 hours.
After we crack the eggs, you know we gotta hit it with the hot fries.
Now we chop it up.
After the sauce, chop it up. Now we hit it with the season. Then we put the mozzarella sticks in the fryer.
Go up. Once the chop is ready, you hit it with the cheese.
Let's go, chopped cheese. Once the cheese is melted, now we put it in the honey bun. Once the egg is ready, now we add the sausage and the turkey bacon. Now we stack it up.
Wait. Yo, where my sauce at?
Oh, sure. Then we hit it with the sauce. Now we wrap it up. And the result is OMG.
Can't forget your bath. Never.
Never. Now we serve it to the customer.
Fun fact, Ak is an Americanized Arabic slang for Aki, meaning brother in Rahim Mohammed's native country of Yemen. The more you know. Doo-doo-doo. News coming out of the game, not as fun as the sandwich. Sauce Gardner accusing Mac Jones of pee-pee touching. And he releases a video as proof. Now, I've seen the video. For those watching on YouTube, you're about to see the video. For those listening, it's not much, but it's something. Let's take a look. That video coming, of course, from Sauce Gardner, at I am Sauce Gardner on Twitter. Diana Rossini of The Athletic, at DM Rossini on Twitter, shared her own video that she says she received from a league source with a closer view of Mac Jones apparently just cup checking Sauce Gardner. Let's take a look. Now, whether you think there was some real pee-pee touching happening or not, all I know is I was taught growing up, keep your hands to yourself, especially when you're playing football. Don't touch another man's pee-pee. All of this to sum up that the Jets are crumbling to the ground. And as much as I hate the Jets, a division rival to my Dolphins, I'd like to see them competitive. Makes those games even more special twice a year. But they have a good defense. You hate to see it wasted as an NFL fan. Aaron Rodgers' injury obviously destroying their season. But you like to see them go out and make a move. You know, the Vikings keep losing. I'd like to see them go out and get Kirk Cousins. Honestly, I would have loved to see them get Matt Ryan. Clear skin Poppy. But this game, good riddance. It's over. Thank God we got some good chatter after the game from Sauce. But good luck to his intestines after that sandwich. That looked rough. Next game, Colts at Ravens. We got a good old-fashioned kickoff. Ravens minus 7.5, over under 45.5. Final, the Ravens won, obviously. No, they didn't. Colts 22, Ravens 19. Thanks to my highlight of the game, Matt Gay, the gayest kicker of them all. Kicks a record four 50-plus yard field goals, ranging from 54, 53, and 53 to tie the game in the fourth quarter, and the game-winning 53-yarder in overtime with only 1 minute and 9 seconds left on the clock. Justin Tucker, the usual kicker we're talking about as the winning kicker in these games, actually uncharacteristically missed a 61-yarder to win with 6 seconds left in the fourth quarter. The kick honestly looked like it was going in. It was dead straight, and it was maybe just a yard short, unfortunately. 61 yards will cut him some slack. They did go to overtime. They did have a chance to win still. This game should not have been 19-19, though, going into overtime. The Ravens looked better the whole game. Lamar Jackson is the Ravens. The fact there was ever even a discussion going back to the offseason that they were not going to give him a contract, or his contract was not earned, or that he's too risky and injury-prone, is embarrassing for their organization and shows how disrespected Lamar must have felt when you watch him in these games, and he looks like a grown man playing with children. He looks faster than everybody on the field. Now, given he really, truly has nobody that he's throwing to. Throwing 22 completions on 31 attempts, 202 yards, taking 4 sacks. It is what it is. 14 carries, 101 yards. How many running backs around the league did that this week? How many quarterbacks have done it in their entire career? His receivers, this is the reason why he's running 101 yards a game on 14 carries. Zach Flowers, Nelson Aguilar, Mark Andrews, Kenyon Drake, Melvin Gordon. Nobody over 50 yards. Michael Pittman for the Colts, 9 receptions, 77 yards, and 11 targets. More yards than any two of those players combined. Lamar again with the 2 rushing touchdowns. He's just a beast. Another highlight from this game, Gardner Minshew, the stash himself, making the start for the Colts. Anthony Richardson, of course, still out from last week with that concussion after he pounded the ball into the end zone twice on the second time experiencing that concussion. They're giving him some rest this week, as they should. And honestly, I'd like to see him out next week. Like I said last week on Sports on the Rocks with Ken Larimer, they're not making the playoffs. They have no chance to probably have a winning record this year. There's no real rush to get him back into these games. He's not going to learn anything from losing these games. But Minshew giving us a little action in this game. A little in this boring ass game. He gifted us on Orlovsky. What's an Orlovsky, you may ask? If you don't know, you're about to find out. Dan Orlovsky, famed Detroit Lions quarterback, in his first ever NFL career start, ran out of the back of his own end zone and took a safety. In that game, it was 0-0. That safety, 2-0. Fast forward to this game, down 16-17, 3rd and 11 at their own 1. Gardner Minshew goes back to pass. 2 minutes and 3 seconds left in the fourth quarter, trying to make a comeback. And what does Minshew do? Escapes the pressure because he's out of bounds. 16-19, 3-point game, and somehow they go to overtime and win this game by 3. This game overall, I was lost. I didn't like the 7.5 that the Ravens were giving up. Did not touch this game. Stayed away. Looking back, you figure the offenses were terrible. That under 45.5 is probably great. If you had some type of kicking prop, you hit in this game. But yeah, another game did not watch much of, and for good reason. But it did have an Orlovsky. It had a 61-yard attempt by Tucker that was a miss. And it had a Lamar 101-yard rushing game. So, turning something into nothing. Next up, Texans at Jaguars. CJ hits his Stroud. Ho-ho. Jags minus 7.5. Over under 43.5. Final in this game. Houston Texans 37. Jaguars 17. Highlight for me. Both players named Tank in this game score a touchdown. The Tank Bowl, if you will. Tank Dell, Houston's wide receiver, and Tank Bigsby, Jacksonville's running back. To the game, though, Jags always struggle with these divisional-type matchups. They were at home. I thought they would have a chance. I did pick the Jags minus the 7.5. CJ Stroud might be the real deal. I think the Texans have hit, in his first 3 games, 906 passing yards, which makes the 3rd most since 1970, behind only Cam Newton, who had 1012, and Justin Herbert, who had 931. Not a bad group to be around. Also, he has 4 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. Tank Dell, 3rd-round pick, exploded for 5 receptions, 145 yards, and a touchdown. Had a long catch of 68 yards. And if you had Jags as your survivor pick, you lost. My survivor pool had like 27% people take the Jags. And they're all losers, much like the Jags. ETN having an okay game. 19 carries, 88 yards. Leading receiver was Evan Ingram, 7 receptions, 67 yards for the Jags. But really the shining spot in this game was the Stroud to Tank Dell connection. and the fact that it never looked close. The Texans had a lead, kept the lead, 17-0 at the half, and you never thought the Jags were going to win this game. Next game up, Titans at the Browns. The Brown note. Titans shit the bed. Tennessee Titans plus 3.5, over and under 38. Browns 27, Titans 3. I picked the Titans plus 3.5. Should have been the team total. They didn't even score 3.5. They scored 3. Highlight of the game, Myles Garrett. Wait, not that Myles Garrett. That's the one. 3.5 sacks, 5 QB hits. Not long after Chubb's season-ending injury last week, Kareem Hunt being signed as a free agent, 1 year, up to $4 million, I'm sure based on incentives and bonuses that he will hit because he's a beast. I'm done with the Titans. I'm calling it now. I'm over it. You will not toy with my heart anymore, Tennessee. Deshaun Watson, pretty decent game. 27 for 33, 289 yards, 2 touchdowns, taking 3 sacks. Who cares? Derrick Henry completely taken out of this game. 11 carries, 20 yards. Tannehill sucks. 13 for 25, 104 yards. Amari Cooper, he's back. 7 receptions, 116 yards and a touchdown on 8 targets. This game was a nothing burger. What we take from this game is the Titans are bad and the Browns might be okay, as long as the opposing team doesn't play any defense. Next up, Bills at Commanders. The Bills look okay. Bills -6, over and under 45. Final, Bills 37, Commanders 3. Highlight of this game, the Bills pick off rookie Sam Howell 4 times and sack him 9 times. Imagine getting sacked 9 times. And you have to play for the Commanders? Ugh. Bet you he wishes he would have gone 1 more year at UNC. Nobody really having a spectacular game, just the Commanders that bad. James Cook, 15 carries, 98 yards. Josh Allen, 20 for 32, 218 yards, a touchdown, an interception. 3 carries, 46 yards, and a touchdown. Stephon Diggs, though. Stephon Diggs, man amongst boys. 12 targets, 8 receptions, 111 yards. And that's it in this game. I could pretend like I watched this game. I don't watch a single second of this game. And you know what? I'm a better person for it. But based on what I did see and the highlights and the stat sheet, the Bills look okay. A game I did watch. Saints at Packers. He loved me. He loved me not. Packers were plus 1.5, over and under 42. Final, closer than it seemed. Packers 18, Saints 17. The Saints led this game for most of this game. Highlight of this game, Jameis Winston leads an 8-play game-winning drive. But again, oh wait, they missed the field goal from 46, wide right with 1:10 left. Packers win. Winston in this game? Why? Well, because Derek Carr gets hurt in the 3rd quarter. Vicious sack. Slammed to the ground on his shoulder. Never is a good situation. He doesn't get up. He doesn't lift his head. The trainers come out, and into the tunnel he goes. Jameis Winston finally gets his chance. And honestly, he stepped up. And the Saints look like they have this one in the bag. They're up 17-3 in the 4th quarter. However, Love leads a drive, 7 plays, 80 yards, and gets a successful 2-point conversion. Goes down 17-11. The last drive, Rodgers-esque. One thing I'll say about Jordan Love, sitting behind Aaron Rodgers for the however many years he did, 1 or 2 years, he looked terrible when he was coming in the game then, but he must have picked something up because he gives you this this feeling now. He's had 2 comeback wins this season. If the Packers are down, you expect Jordan Love to get the ball and lead them down the field. I haven't felt that way about a player since Aaron Rodgers on the Packers. I've watched him do it for years. Now, Jordan Love has a chance to put those skills and that knowledge to action. And boy, is he. This game, however, was not close. 17-0 New Orleans at the half. Packers getting all 18 of their points in the fourth quarter. We're going to start calling Jordan Love fourth quarter love. Or a little tennis pun. We could go for love. Ooh, I like that. Jordan Love, 22 of 44. 259 yards, an interception, and a touchdown. Only taking 1 sack. He's limber. He's running. He's moving. 9 carries, 39 yards. He got a long of 24. This game was boring as shit until the fourth quarter. And then it was one of the most exciting finishes I've seen in a long time. Once it goes 17-11, like I said, it was Rodgers-esque. I fully expected Jordan Love to lead them to a win, and he did. This was a game I love the Packers in. Not impressed by the Saints. Didn't expect Derek Carr to not be playing. That was a treat. But Jameis Winston, completely serviceable. And judging by the Derek Carr injury, might be Jameis's team for the rest of the year. Injured shoulder for Derek Carr. You don't know how he's going to be and when he will be able to return. Next game, Panthers at Seahawks. Ken recognized Ken. We talked about it last week. I was very disappointed in Kenneth Walker III. He must have heard me. Because this week, redemption game. Showed up big time. 18 carries, 97 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Kenneth, that's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about, Kenneth. Seahawks are minus 5.5 in this game, over and under 42. They win this game 37-27. Of course, Bryce Young out for this game. Replaced by none other than the Ginger Prince himself, Andy Dalton. Throws the ball, however, 58 times. Not a winning strategy. But Bryce Young out with the ankle injury. Panthers coach Frank Reich on whether Young will start next week. Quote, don't know. I don't know yet. We'll see how tomorrow goes. And then Wednesday, I'll give you an update then. But I know he's done everything possible to try to put himself into position to. Well, thanks for nothing, Frank. I could have figured that out on my own, Frank. Kenneth Walker, though, wow. Metcalf coming back this week strong after last week being injured for some of the game. 6 receptions on 8 targets, 112 yards. Had a long of 34 that looked beastly. Adam Thielen having a game. 11 receptions on 14 targets, 145 yards. G.J. Shark Jr. also getting in the mix. 11 targets, but only catching 4 of them. I don't know what happened there. 86 yards and a touchdown. Great over game. And again, Kenneth Walker Jr., I'm proud of you. Thank you for stepping up and giving Ken's a good name. I'm looking forward to future Kenneth Walker III Beast games. I'm looking forward to future Kenneth Walker performances now. Like next week at the Giants. Should run all over them. I expect 100 yards, Kenneth. And the following week at the Bengals. I expect 100 yards, Kenneth. And the following week after that, at home, against the Cardinals. I expect 100 yards, Kenneth. The week after, you're playing the Browns, though. I don't know what's going on there. Which will take us to the Bears at the Chiefs. A Swift domination. We briefly touched on the Taylor Swift stuff before, but not so much the game, because that was the game. The Chiefs were minus 13.5, over and under 48. Solid survivor pick. I'm a sucker. I thought the Bears would kind of stay in this game. Definitely was all in the over. Finals, Chiefs 41, Bears 10. Final, Chiefs 41, Bears 10. Over hits. Chiefs cover. Easy work. Not so much to talk about in the game, but it was a long week for the Bears. Justin Fields has comments that seem to blame his coaches for their performance.
When you say thinking less, what do you think was causing you to think so much, maybe think too much?
Could be coaching, I think. But at the end of the day, it makes it, they're doing their job when they're giving me, what to look at and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I, can't be thinking about that when the game comes. I prepare myself throughout the week, and then when the game comes, it's, it's time to play free at that point. So, just thinking less and, playing more.
Hey, Justin, we've heard this before from other athletes. There are just too many, coaching voices in your head at this point that you're trying to process so much. Is that part of what you're saying?
I don't think it's too many coaching voices, but I just think when, you're fed a lot of information at a point in time and you're trying to think about that info, like when you're playing, it's like it doesn't let you play like yourself. You're trying to, process so much information to where it's like, if I just simplified in my mind, I would have did this. Like, I saw a few plays on Sunday to where if I was playing like my old self, like, we would have had a positive play. Like, there would have been, a few more third down conversions. So I think that's the biggest thing for me is just, playing the game how, I know how to play it, how I've been playing it my whole life. So that's what I got to get back to doing. So.
Then, I think later that day, Justin Field comments to reporters about his comments being misconstrued earlier to reporters. This clip coming from @KRoSharkey, or Caitlin Sharkey, who is a sports reporter who works with WGN TV out of Chicago.
You guys' jobs are to get clicks, so it's like when you take my quote out of context, when you just say that, if you paint the picture on the inside out, like y'all are trying to split us up as a team. I'm not blaming anything on the coaches. I'm never going to blame anything on the coaches, never going to blame anything on my teammates. I will take whatever happens in the game, I will take all the blame. I don't care if it's a drop pass, it should have been a pass. Put it on me. But never will you hear anything come out of my mouth to where I will blame it on somebody else. In this organization, my teammates, never will you hear that. So I just want to clear that up and just know that, like, I need to play better. That's it, point blank. If y'all, that's what I should have said in the first place. But, I was trying to give y'all more details because, I appreciate y'all for doing what y'all do. And I try to give y'all the information y'all want for you guys' job. So I'm going to do that. And in the future, but I ask you guys just to put the whole quote out. Don't cut it up into words and pieces to make it seem like I'm saying something that I'm not. So, again, appreciate you guys, what you do. And y'all have a blessed day. That's it.
Seems like everything's going just well in Chicago. Fast forward to Wednesday night, one or more burglars tore down a security fence and drove multiple pieces of equipment out of a garage, including gators and lawnmowers valued at over $100,000. But that's not all. But that's not all. Reports of defensive coordinator Alan Williams' home being raided by the FBI came out, and also a forensic vehicle being parked outside the Bears facility shortly after that. Williams then resigned later that day. Adam Schefter reported his resignation was in part due to inappropriate activity, but no criminal activity. But the Bears' HR department was involved. I heard an interesting comment from Dan Katz of Part of My Take saying the one thing that was questionable was how none of his, or usually when there's a resignation amongst a sporting team or an NFL team especially, all of his fellow coworkers and players say, it was great working with you and we'll miss you. And not a single person in the organization has said anything about his resignation. So maybe more to the story that will come out. I'll wrap up Bears Chiefs talk by once again bringing up T Swift and T Kelsey. Kelsey thinks he's slick inviting Taylor to this game. 41-10 route, never a doubt. I would say invite her to a game of a little more substance. Maybe prove your worth. Maybe, I don't know, at home against the Dolphins, maybe at home against the Eagles. But notice he invited her to the Bears game. Moving on. Cowboys at Cardinals. I don't take my own advice. Cowboys are minus 12.5, over and under 43. Final, Cards 28, Cowboys 16. I hate the Cowboys. I hate Dak. Pick the Cowboys as my survivor pick this week. Watch this game. The most frustrating thing ever. Cowboys would drive all the way down, and once they entered the red zone, they forgot how to score. Like, look sharp the whole drive. Dominant even. Tony Pollard, 23 carries, 122 yards, has a long of 31. Dak even, 25 of 40, 249 yards, a touchdown. The interception is what will cost them this game. Nobody on the Cardinals. If you look at this stat sheet, the Cardinals really don't do much to win this game. Josh Dobbs, again, serviceable. 17 of 21, 189 yards, a touchdown, 0 interceptions, only takes 2 sacks. James Conner, 14 carries, 98 yards, a touchdown. Josh Dobbs, though, 6 carries, 55 yards. He's getting frisky. He's getting in there. The wide receiver core, they got Josh Dobbs throwing to them. They're not doing much. Mike Wilson got in there, 2 receptions, 2 targets, 86 yards, one of them for 69 yards. But the Cowboys, this is a game that they're favored by 12.5. But they could not stop the run. James Conner embarrassed them. And this is a game they probably really did miss Trayvon Diggs, who earlier in the week it was announced that he tears his ACL in practice. Another ACL, add it to the list. He's done for the year. But again, you look at the stats of this game, it doesn't make sense. And it really comes down to, they're down 12. They're never covering this game. The game does go under, but this game comes down to really almost the final play for the Cowboys, which we have this great picture that was tweeted around the Twitter of Dak throwing the interception. And when you see it, if you're listening to this podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, I will put it on Twitter for you, at SportsOTRocks. If you're watching, the last pass for Dak Prescott and the Cowboys to give them a chance to try and come back and win looks like this. You can tell that he kind of is trying to throw to his team. Maybe it comes out of his hand weird. Maybe he's trying to hit the ref. He's angry at the ref. Maybe he said something about his mom. I don't know. But this picture summed up the Cowboys' red zone game against the Cardinals. The crowd was in this game, and probably half Cowboy fans, and still was super loud in there. And like I said last week, and this is why I started this segment off by saying, I don't take my own advice, because I told you the Cards were frisky, and I told you the Cards were going to win at least 3 or 4 games this year, and to not be on the losing side of those wins. And when I did some research this week, the matchup history spoke for itself. Something like the Cowboys were 0-9 against the Cardinals in their last 9. The announcement of Trayvon Diggs not playing in this game. Pre-game, 3 of their 5 starting offensive linemen are out. And still, silly me, I still think the Cowboys were going to win this game. The hardest part of picking NFL and the hardest part about betting or gambling on the NFL is believing what the stats tell you and not what your heart tells you. which is why my Survivor Pick'em year is over. So I'll write it in my book for next year. Believe the stats. Don't be a sucker. And don't pick for Survivor Pool or Last Longer pools, if you're a participant, don't pick games that statistically tell you the other team is going to win, despite what you think about the team you're picking. And that wraps up the 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. games and takes us to Sunday Night Football. The Steelers defense wins again. Steelers at Raiders. The Steelers defense wins this game for them. The Pittsburgh Steelers plus 2.5 didn't matter. Most Steelers games this year, if you think they're going to win, take the money line. Their games are close. When they're playing teams like the Raiders, though, with Jimmy G, over and under 43.5. The 43.5 was also easy. Defensive struggle is what I thought. Highlight of the game, TJ Watt. That's the tweet. That's it. TJ Watt, 2 sacks, 2 QB hits, endless pressure. He is in on every play. I honestly, when I'm watching games with the Steelers, I just watch TJ Watt. You know, when they line up, I kind of like, you take a look at the line, you see if, when they hike the ball, if anybody's offsides, and then most people follow specialty players. They look at the quarterback, they look at the running back, they look at the receivers running out. In Steelers games, I am watching TJ Watt. My eyes are on him the entire time, and the moves he's putting on these offensive linemen that are, almost 1.5 times his size. Jimmy G takes a massive hit, though, at the end of the first half, goes to the locker room. Doesn't look like he's coming back. I gave out a pick on Twitter. I said Jimmy G under, I think it was 234.5 yards. Didn't think it was ever going to be at risk of going over. Thought the Steelers D would completely handle this game. All they have is Devontae Adams. I didn't think Josh Jacobs was going to be any type of risk of, breaking out against this defense. And then, in the second half, guess who comes out of the locker room? Jimmy G. Josh McDaniels says he's fine, and he's playing, to reporters when asked. And then it comes out today that he's in concussion protocol. What? Concussion protocol? How could you be in concussion protocol if you got hit in the game and it literally knocked you out, you went to the locker room, and then you came back and you played? This seems like opposite of what happened in the Tua situation. Obviously, Tua was warranted. But did we not learn anything from the Tua situation? We all saw the Jimmy G hit. It's Sunday Night Football. There's nothing else going on. This is the only game I'm watching, the only game everybody is watching. The league is watching. How are we letting Jimmy G play the second half if he's hitting his head on the ground and to the point where he's out of the game and has to go to the locker room? What is that conversation like with officials? Everybody's going into the tent. Everybody's going to the blue tent now. Anything. If something happens on the field, they go, nah, you got to get in the blue tent. But Jimmy G, in a Sunday night primetime football game, slams his head on the ground and takes a slew of hits in this game. But one of the hits, he slams his head on the ground. And he's coming out of the locker room and he's playing the second half of this game. It was unbelievable. And not to mention, his prop went over. So, but not surprising when he throws 3 interceptions in this game. So did that have something to do with the concussion? Probably. Jimmy G, 28 of 44, 324 yards, 2 touchdowns, throws 3 interceptions. I think it was post-concussion. Josh Jacobs with 17 carries and 62 yards. Kenny Pickett, fellow Ken, handled this game. 16 of 28, 235 yards, 2 touchdowns, only taking 1 sack. Najee, what are you going to do? 19 carries, 65 yards. We've come to expect the bare minimum from Najee Harris. I was just disappointed in this Jimmy G situation. I could not believe he came out of this game and he was let back in and then announced he was in the concussion protocol today. which means he'll probably won't play this week. Unreal. Disappointing. Davante Adams, though, 13 receptions, 172 yards, and 2 touchdowns, 20 targets. 20. Seems like there would be a ton of offense in this game, but only scoring 41 points. Patrick Peterson making an appearance. Patrick Peterson, a Steeler. No idea. Where was I? Loved Patrick Peterson as a Cardinal. Always wanted him to be on a good team. Went to a mediocre team. Went to the Steelers. Nabs an interception. That was an overthrow. It was such a bad overthrow that he caught it like a wide receiver. He was like running the route. The receiver's behind him. Another defender's on the receiver. And he like over the shoulder catches it and runs out of bounds. Like that, it was gifted to him. Patrick Peterson, so talented, he could have done anything he wanted in football, probably. Chose to be a cornerback. Good decision. Probably a Hall of Famer. Davante Adams, though, if they continue to lose, I don't know how they keep him on this team. Davante Adams should be traded. Hunter Renfrow on this team, I didn't hear a peep out of Hunter Renfrow. We're hunting for Hunter Renfrow. We can't find him. But I hope for Davante Adams' sake, get him out of there. I want to see him on a good team. You can't be getting 13 receptions, 172 yards, and 2 touchdowns on a team that probably is going to have 6 or 7 wins at the end of the year. Get him on a contender. Get him on a good team. I don't care what team. I want to see him in the playoffs. I want to see those dreads flopping in the winter, catching 2 touchdowns and over 150 yards on a premier cornerback that should be covering him, and he's just going to be balling out one-handed catches. I want to see Davante in the playoffs. Get him off the Raiders. That was quite the no-cap recap, though. It was honestly a pretty blah week 3. You know it's a blah week 3 when Taylor Swift is the biggest news of the NFL weekend outside of the Dolphins setting a scoring record. When Dolphins Denver and Taylor Swift lead the NFL weekend and every team plays, we're not at bye weeks yet, you know it was a subpar NFL week. But we love football. We love the NFL. We're glad it's back. I don't want to hurt your feelings, NFL. I'm sorry I said that. And now one of my favorite segments, a little chaser. Ooh. College football. Ryan Day wants to fight Lou Holtz. Why? Well, because Lou Holtz had this to say about Ohio State and their defense before the game.
And everybody that beats them does so because they're more physical than Ohio State. And I think Notre Dame will take that same approach.
Doesn't seem that bad. Don't think he's saying anything wrong. Ohio State visited South Bend for the first time this past Saturday since 1996. Ohio State was ranked number 6, Notre Dame number 9, an anticipated primetime college football matchup. Both teams undefeated going into this game. Ohio State 3-0, Notre Dame 4-0. I gave it out on Twitter at SportsOTRocks. The public was over. The sharps are over. Ken Larimer went under. I think it was 55.5. You'd have to go to at SportsOTRocks to double check my numbers. Under the lights, white out at Notre Dame, white out at South Bend, first time since 96. Lou Holtz and Ryan Day bout to fisticuffs. This game is 3-0 Ohio State at the half. True defensive battle. Fast forward, 10-14 Notre Dame with 4:12 left in the fourth quarter. Ohio State has 4th and 1 at Notre Dame's 11, gets stuffed. Then, Notre Dame collapses. They run for a loss. They throw an incomplete pass instead of a rush. They're not running the clock. A false start caps the drive before punting back to OSU with 1:26 left. This is when it gets interesting. Again, I'm fasting forward to the fourth quarter because the majority of this game was a defensive struggle. As much as a struggle as Ryan Day was having with Lou Holtz's comments pregame, which we'll get to in a second. 1:26 left on the clock. Ohio State runs a 15-play drive. What will be forgotten on this 15-play drive is a near interception by Notre Dame with 37 seconds left, but they can't bring it in. Touches his fingertips, falls, he hits the ground. And at that moment, you go, man, they could have ended that game right there. But little did we know how important that interception would have been. Ohio State almost sacked with 15 seconds left. Ohio State's quarterback, Kyle McCord, gets away with one, throws it away. Flag, knee wasn't on the ground. No receiver in the area, in the tackle box, called for intentional grounding. Makes it 3rd and 19. Ohio State only has one timeout. There is a 10-second runoff on an intentional grounding, I believe under a minute. Could be under 2 minutes, could be under... There is a 10-second runoff. Ohio State uses their last timeout. So now 15 seconds. QB Kyle McCord gets an amazing 21-yard pass off next play after 3rd and 19. First down, 1 yard line, 9 seconds left. College, first down, clock stops. They all run up. They start the clock. 8, 7, spike the ball. Impressive. Linemen, everybody gets down really in, if 2 seconds run off, they probably got down in 2 seconds because they all have to get to the ball. They start the clock once the ball is placed. Impressive for some big men. 7 seconds on the clock. Ohio State, no timeouts now. At the 1 yard line to win this game. Notre Dame uses their last timeout. 2nd and goal is an incomplete pass to the front right of the end zone. Just out of the reach of the receiver. Didn't have a chance. Touches it with his hand, but it was clearly out of bounds. He couldn't have gotten 2 feet in. Bad pass. Probably tried to avoid the defender and just lived to fight another down. 3rd and goal, 3 seconds. Chip Trainum, who, by the way, in the game, 14 carries, 104 yards, busted one for a 61-yard touchdown earlier in the game, finishes with the game-winning touchdown right up the center. Now, watching this game live, the spread is 3.5. If you're a professional like me, you got the spread live at -2.5. The clock hits 0. I forget. I say, does college still kick the extra point even if the game is over and the team that scored already won? They can't lose. Doesn't matter. They put a second left on the clock. Now, they could kneel it, which I guess would have made more sense. There was no reason to kick the extra point. But some wise guys took -3. This wise guy had -2.5. And the under. Never a risk. Gave it away on Twitter, @SportsOTRocks. Make the extra point. Makes it a 3-point game. So if you bought the half, you push, which was honestly a godsend. To add insult to injury, Notre Dame, it comes out after the game, once everybody sees the film one more time, and we count it up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, only has 10 men on the field. One of the most important plays of the entire game, one of the most important plays in Notre Dame most recent history, one of the most important plays in their entire season, most likely ending their playoff hopes, they have 10 men on the field for. And not only do they have 10 men on the field for, they have 10 men on the field for the play before that. When asked after the game, Notre Dame coach Marcus Freeman discusses that decision and why it happened.
Marcus, the film shows that on that last play, there were only 10 people on the field. Just curious what happened.
Yeah, we were trying to get a 4th D lineman on the field, and I told him just stay off because we can't afford a penalty. I didn't have any timeouts, right? So we couldn't afford a penalty there, and yeah, it's on us. We got to be better.
Before that, when the game comes down to that last play like that, what's the message to the team in the huddle? And just before they get out on the field.
Freaking windy interval. That's all I said. You know, there was really 2 plays. We called a timeout on 3rd down, right? And so there's 2 plays really to be prepared for in that situation. And so, you know, they went and threw it incomplete pass, had 3 seconds left, and we couldn't get a timeout, right? We were out of timeouts. You can't really, crowds loud, you can't relay a message. And so, you know, I told them we're probably going to run the same call twice. And that's what we ended up doing.
I don't know. I mean, like I said, only one of the most important games in Notre Dame's recent history. And they only decide to field 10 men for this obscure reason of they don't want to take the penalty when they're at the 1. So the penalty is half distance to the goal. So they're giving up a half a yard. So who cares? The game is over if you make the stop. Whether it's a yard or a half a yard, was the half a yard going to make a big difference? They ran a play up the center. But, oh well, it was an exciting game regardless. And it lived up to the hype, even with it being a defensive struggle. I mean, you get a last-second touchdown and a 15-play drive. It was fantastic. I'd do it again. Thanks, Ohio State, Notre Dame. Headed back to the NFL, DeAndre Hopkins goes back to school. Good for him. Hopkins re-enrolled at Clemson, where he attended from 2010 to 2012, before being drafted by the Texans with the 27th pick in the NFL draft. He's now working towards a degree in parks, rec, and tourism management, maybe thinking about his life post-NFL. And it had me thinking, imagine going to your local park and running into Hopkins with the brimmed hat and the khaki pants. At least that's what I think about with the Parks, Rec, and Tourism Management degree. Almost as startling as probably seeing Hopkins in your online Clemson Zoom class, which is exactly what the student who took this video experienced.
What's you, all of you, that I like a lot. I love your brains. What's you, all of you, that I like a lot. I love your brains.
Hopkins later quote tweeted that video making the rounds on Twitter and social media, saying, "I'm just trying to graduate. SMH. Leave the man alone. He's just trying to get his park rec and tourism and management degree from Clemson, online classes, setting himself up for post-NFL. Good for him. Good for you, DeAndre Hopkins. I'm happy for you." Next up, funny story out of Oakland. Heading to MLB, Miguel Cabrera stops in Oakland during his retirement tour. And as you have seen through various retirement tours, whether it be Pujols or Rivera, teams usually gift them something that is meaningful or funny, something that is something like to show their appreciation for the competition over the years of typically a long Hall of Fame career if we're celebrating their retirement. But the Oakland A's never put something past them. They give Miguel Cabrera a bottle of Camus red wine, which is a delicious wine. I'm a fan. I'll drink Camus red wine. Miggy, you want to give me the bottle of wine? I'll drink it. But it's valued at roughly $80 to $100. The gifts is not a monetary thing, though, between baseball teams. But there clearly was no thought. It was almost like they said, "Oh, shit, we're playing the Tigers tonight. Is Mickey playing? Ah, Mickey's playing. Shit. Go run to Total Wine and get a bottle of their nicest red under $100. That's exactly what they did. Kind of a big fuck you to Miggy, though, because he is a well-known recovering alcoholic. Oops. He actually celebrated his 3,000th hit with non-alcoholic champagne, which was news. I love Miggy. I hate to see this happen to him. I'm sure he didn't think twice about it. He doesn't think twice about the Oakland A's when he goes to bed. He might have said, talk some shit to his friends, being like, "You believe they gave me a stupid bottle of wine?" I'm sure Miggy has a nice wine collection that he shares with all of his friends who drink, and he just enjoys it because he doesn't drink anymore. Just shows how incompetent the Oakland A's management and ownership is. Not surprising, we all know this already. But I love Miggy. Quick story about Miggy. I remember going to Marlins games as a kid in South Florida, and I remember sitting on the first base line, maybe like a healthy amount of rows up. The tickets were not expensive, as most Marlin games are not. Back when they were the Florida Marlins at Pro Player Stadium, formerly Joe Robbie Stadium, now Hard Rock Stadium. And me and my dad were at the game. We're watching Miggy play, and he was a skinny kid, maybe rookie or year 2 or 3. And I remember my dad saying, "You see that guy? You see his Miguel Cabrera? He's going to be a Hall of Famer." And that stuck with me forever. And then as the years went by, and Miggy, was always one of my favorite players on the Marlins. And now we look at his Hall of Fame career with 3,000 hits. Really always great with the fans, always smiling, his own struggles with substance abuse, but he overcame that, which makes it even more of a great story. But I love Miggy, and Miggy, if you want to give me that bottle of Camus, it's one of my favorites. I'm sure you can afford it. Wrapping up this segment with soccer. NFL season, MLB approaching the playoffs. We're wrapping up a little chaser with soccer because Megan Rapinoe takes her final knee. She debuted in 2006 on the United States Women's National Team. She retires this week with 202 international appearances and 62 goals. She was a 2015 and 2019 World Cup champion and an Olympic gold medalist in 2012. She revealed she was gay in Out magazine in 2012. Comment from Outsports.com at the time, Rapinoe came out publicly and said, "I feel like sports in general are still homophobic, in the sense that not a lot of people are out." She continued, "I feel everyone is really craving for people to come out. People they need to see that there are people like me playing soccer for the good old US of A." She also joined Kaepernick by taking a knee on the field for the Seattle Reign in 2016. Wasn't until she continued doing so in international play for the U.S. Women's National Team that she became a villain amongst the U.S. Soccer Federation and U.S. fans alike. Viewed as disrespectful to some, and her comments about not attending the fucking White House if the team were to win the 2019 World Cup rubbed some the wrong way, especially then President Donald J. Trump. Trump actually tweeting at the time, as he was prone to do, women's soccer player Megan Rapinoe just stated that she is not going to the effing White House if we win. Well, maybe I'll try it with the impression. Other than the NBA, which now refuses to call owners, please explain that I just got that criminal justice reform passed. Black employment is at the lowest level in our country's history, and the poverty index, the poverty index, it's also the best number ever. Leagues and teams love coming to the White House. I'm a big fan of the American team and the women's soccer, but Megan should win first before she talks. Finish the job. We haven't invited Megan or the team, but I am now inviting the team. Win or lose, Megan should never disrespect our country, the White House, or our flag, especially since so much has been done for her and the team. Be proud of the flag that you wear. The U.S. is doing great. Terrible impression. Weird tweet. One of many from Donald J. Trump. But Megan Rapinoe answered that tweet in the next game the USA played France in the quarterfinals and won, and even scored a goal in the game, and celebrated with a now iconic pose. If you're listening to the podcast, you can find it on @SportsOTRocks. If you're watching on YouTube, here it is. She was Sports Illustrated's 2019 Sports Person of the Year and had this to say in regards to the goal celebration. It was kind of like a fuck you, but with a big smile and a shit-eating grin. You are not going to steal any of our joy. She continued, "It wasn't my celebration personally. It wasn't just for me. It was that you and nobody will take our joy." She tells this to ESPN after the tournament. You won't take our passion. You won't rob this from us. You won't take our happiness. We're going to stand with a smile, with our full chest exposed, and put it all out there. This is what we want the world to be. This is the kind of openness, vulnerability, passion, and unbridled joy we want in the world. I felt like I was doing it with everyone and for everyone. Always a champion on the field and a champion for equality, racism, and oppression off the field. Unfortunately, Megan Rapinoe will be most remembered for her colored hair and politically charged statements. I never had a real issue with Megan Rapinoe. I feel like athletes that are as outspoken for what they believe in as Megan was throughout her career, but especially in the end of her career, not her life, she's still alive, the public kind of gets tired of it. It becomes tiresome. We are in a very divisive part in our American history. And I feel like she thrust herself into the center of it, which is what we loved about Megan throughout her entire career. But as you get older, those opinions, as I said, get tiresome, especially if you don't pass that torch onto the next generation of younger players and younger athletes. And I feel like that is where Megan Rapinoe lost a lot of her supporters in the end, was that there was no next person to take that torch. She took that burden on herself, and she continues to take that burden on herself, but she has a fantastic soccer career to be remembered for. And I think as time passes on, we will forget all this stuff that happened at the end. But she was always herself, and she was unwavering despite what anybody would say, even the President of the United States. And that I respect. Shake it off. All right. Next segment. Let's bring it back down. Let's chill for a little bit. Back to my favorite segment of the day. Now That's Cool. On this episode of Now That's Cool, Junior Caminero, 20 years old from Santo Domingo, gets the call from AA to the Tampa Bay Rays. If you're watching on YouTube, the video is next. And if you're listening, the audio is as follows. And I'll also tweet the video at SportsOTRock so you can watch it there.
I forgot something, again, incredible season, and it was so stupid because I had something important to say, and that is that Caminero, you're going to the big leagues.
Great. Some of the best videos coming out of sports are young players getting called up from double or triple A to the big leagues. You know that the struggle and the climb is so strenuous and so long. And there's so much energy and emotion that goes in to these journeys. It's something that everybody else on Junior Caminero's team in AA knows. And the one thing that's spectacular about videos like this is you see how joyful everybody else is for him and his success, even though they are still in AA. And most of them will not make Major League Baseball or get even sent up to AAA. But there's such camaraderie in sports that everybody is happy for one of their teammates' success. And that's what makes this video a featured video in this week's Now That's Cool. And we'll wrap up today's episode of Sports on the Rocks with Ken Larimer on this Tuesday, September 26, 2023, with my segment, Last Call. My last call this week: not every Super Bowl halftime show is for you. It was announced yesterday or a couple days ago that this year's Super Bowl halftime show, the 2024 halftime show, will headline none other than Usher Raymond. Usher Raymond. Now, I saw this news, and I was thrilled. I love Usher. What's not to love about Usher? Maybe some things. But Usher has great songs. He has that Oh My God song. He's got Yeah. He's a big one-word celebration type song guy. Love in This Club. I don't know if he'll do Love in This Club at the Super Bowl. DJ Got Us Falling in Love. You Got It Bad. That would be a pretty ridiculous song to play at the Super Bowl. But slew of features. Usher being there means they're going to probably go with a slightly more urban lineup. So people we can expect maybe Neo, maybe Chris Brown, maybe Lil Jon, maybe Lil Wayne. I feel like I see Lil Wayne everywhere now. I don't think Lil Wayne needs the money, but I feel like Lil Wayne did the halftime show for the Raiders-Steelers game in Vegas. I feel like they're like, hey, Lil Wayne, what are you doing? He's like, I'll be there. With his glasses on, his cup of perp. Usher seemed great for me. I was excited for it. And then I go online, and people are like, Usher, why is it not Taylor Swift? Well, maybe because Taylor Swift is on an international tour, and she's tired. And also, maybe she wants to watch her current boyfriend play in the Super Bowl and not perform. And we'll find out. Why is it not Harry Styles? I don't know. Harry Styles, maybe. Or maybe they do like a One Direction boy band version, but I don't know if that appeals to everybody just yet. He can sell out like 10 days at Madison Square Garden, so I'm clearly in the minority there. But they've done this throughout the Super Bowl halftime show announcements, right? When we go back all the way to 2004, so the last 20 years, I'm going to rattle off right now. We're going to start with 2004 was Janet Jackson, Kid Rock, P. Diddy, Nelly, and Justin Timberlake. It was the last of kind of the cool halftime shows. Why? Because Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake ruined it by taking a titty out. Now, I remember I was watching it live, and I was a kid at the time. I think we were watching it like a group thing somewhere. I don't know where. I was a kid, though. I just remember neon bright, like terrible lighting is what I remember wherever we were. And I remember going, oh, she just took her titty out. And I think my dad goes, hey, he goes, we don't say that. We say breast. And I was like, no. I was like, she just took her titty out. And then they showed the replay, and my dad and the group of people we were with were like, oh, she just took her titty out. And if you remember, she had that little sun, like nipple blade thing going on. So the NFL and probably all their sponsors and the major networks said, nope, we're done. 2005, you're getting Paul McCartney. He's going to sit there and play his guitar. Thanks, Janet. And then we got the Rolling Stones in 2006, which were good. But again, we went backwards. We went current music, and then we're like, oh, we'll go back 20 years in the music scene, and we'll start back from there. But 2007 brings us Prince and the Florida A&M Marching Band. I was into that. That was cool. Probably one of the most memorable Super Bowl performances of all time. Prince comes out, plays in the rain, purple lights going, plays Purple Rain in Purple Rain. Probably one of the best Super Bowl performances of all time, behind Michael Jackson's performance. Brings us to 2008, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. Don't remember it at all. Zero recollection of that Super Bowl halftime show. 2009, Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band. Love Bruce Springsteen. Love the E Street Band. Kind of disappointing that he, got rid of the A, B, C, D groupings of bands. I don't know what they ever did to him, but he went over to the E Street Band. And, I don't remember the performance. Didn't leave a lasting impression. I do remember The Who, 2010. I remember going, I know some Who songs, and it was okay. It wasn't fantastic. I'm used to seeing Janet Jackson's tit, and now you're giving me The Who? Downgrade. I think I even remember older people being like, The Who? What? It's the Super Bowl halftime show. You're giving us The Who? 2011, they tried. They gave us the Black Eyed Peas. They gave us Usher, but he was a feature. And they gave us Slash. And I remember watching it and just Slash coming out with his hat and just shredding and being like, this is kind of a cool halftime show. And they started coming back. It took them 7 years. I would think out of that 7-year period, Janet Jackson and the Tit, I think Prince gave us that in-between. And then Black Eyed Peas were kind of hot at the time, or really hot at the time, I should say, with Fergie. It was an okay halftime show. 2012, they gave us Madonna. Don't remember this at all. I'm a Madonna fan. I've been to a couple Madonna concerts. Didn't do it for me. I think she had an album coming out at the time, one of her many last albums that she comes out with. But 2013, they were like, all right, it's time. Beyonce, The Beehive, Bey. They wanted Bey and Jay. Jay said no. Bey, get her up there. And 2013, I was pretty drunk. I don't remember much of this halftime show, but I do remember enjoying it. I don't remember being bored. I remember it ending and being like, wow, that was a concert. That wasn't a halftime show. That was a concert. And that's what I expect from my halftime shows. Concerts. I want to be entertained. It's an intermission from the Super Bowl. Bring it up. Beehive, step up. You know what I'm saying? 2014, they went for it. Bruno Mars, Red Hot Chili Peppers. Was great. I love Bruno Mars. Love the Red Hot Chili Peppers. 2015, Katy Perry, Lenny Kravitz, Missy Elliott. Love Lenny. Love Missy. Katy. But I remember it being a well-accepted halftime show. Not a lot of people were like, I feel like Katy Perry, Lenny Kravitz, Missy Elliott, you hit everybody. And that's what they were trying to do as time went on. They like I said, Tit, Janet Tit, The Who, and then they're like, all right, we'll sprinkle a little bit for everybody. We'll keep it going. 2016, they bring back Beyonce. They go Coldplay and Bruno Mars. 2017, Lady Gaga crushed it. That was the one where all the memes came. She literally jumps from the roof and comes down. It was amazing. 2018, they brought back JT and the Tennessee Kids. I don't know what I was doing in 2018. I don't remember that at all. 2019, Maroon 5, Travis Scott, Big Boy. That was the one where, what's his name? Adam Levin. What's his name? Lead singer, Maroon 5. Adam Levine. I don't know. One of it. Adam L. My boy, Adam L. He took it off his shirt and he looked like a Chipotle bag with all the tattoos and all the memes started going around. It was good. Maroon 5's good. Also, Travis Scott, Big Boy. But it was like a weird match. Where then it was like Adam was trying to be like on the same level as Big Boy and Travis Scott. Left something to be desired. 2020, they turned up. Shakira, J-Lo, Bad Bunny, J Balvin, Emmy Munez. This was Bad Bunny before Bad Bunny exploded. Now Bad Bunny, I think, would probably be a great halftime show. Get Bad Bunny up there, and then his secondary would be like, I don't even know. What's the girl's name? All the kids like now. Olivia Rodrigo. Be Bad Bunny, Olivia Rodrigo, and then who's they'll throw some rap in there too, like what's his name? Flight Plan guy. Curly hair. I don't know his name. I'm old now, Jesus. But 2020 was hot. That was the Shakira J-Lo where they were like back to back. That was fantastic. The costumes are great. The dancing was great. The lights, the pageantry of it was fantastic. And then, like I said, Bad Bunny being secondary was crazy. I remember Bad Bunny came out, and if you knew Bad Bunny at the time, you're like, holy shit, it's Bad Bunny. If you didn't, you're like, oh, that was kind of hot, Even the moms were like, ooh, that's nice. 2021, we got The Weeknd, where he was in the mirror, and he's walking around, and he's looking, and it was like, almost like a production a video production. It was less on the stage and more in the stage, behind the stage. He had all the people come out with the face wraps and everything, and that was in that weird period where he was like, I'm doing plastic surgery and I'm evolving into not The Weeknd anymore. I'm going to be able now. 2021, though, The Weeknd was a fantastic. That was one where you watched it beginning to end and you went, that was good. It was beginning to end. It was good. I don't remember anybody complaining. Maybe it was just in my circle. Maybe you were complaining. I think they were making fun of it, but they were making fun of it because they couldn't say it was bad because it was good. 2022, they brought out the Motley Crue in LA. Eminem, Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Kendrick Lamar, Mary J. Blige. And that was the one where they had 50 Cent was hanging, doing his in the club, blah, 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 you know. He's doing his sit-ups. 50's got to be like 50 years old at this point. He was hanging upside down, all the blood rushing to his head. That was one that was like for my age group. That was 30-year-olds were like, oh, this was my childhood, you know? And older people probably were like, ooh, Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg, you know? I would say Mary J. Blige was fantastic. Her voice hasn't changed at all. She's still one of the best singers around. And it was in LA, so the sets were great. Beginning to end, like I said, there was no complaints. You might have wanted somebody else to come out with them, represent LA, but I had no gripe. 2023, Rihanna. Pregnant Rihanna. Unknowingly pregnant Rihanna. Rihanna coming down on a platform with a belly, not telling anybody, doing a whole halftime performance, pregnant. I mean, they're setting themselves up for failure, for future performances. You gave us Rihanna last year. So you have a lot to live up to now, NFL. And Super Bowl's halftime show. We expect a lot. You gave us Riri. You gave us pregnant Riri. And if I remember correctly, there was nobody else in that performance. It was just Riri. She might have had her on the drums or something. Or maybe that was the Eminem year. Her was on the drums of something. That was pretty cool. But yeah, last year, Rihanna was spectacular. But this year, they give us Usher. Now, Usher, I feel like, is a pretty neutral choice. I mean, he has a lot of good radio songs. He has excellent collaborations. I mean, we could see P. Diddy again. We could see Alicia Keys. We could see Ludacris. Like I said, we could see Lil Jon. Lil Jon? Yeah! We could see Jadakiss. That'd be a little past the NFL. I don't think Jada's coming out, but I'd be into Jadakiss. Will.i.am definitely is making an appearance. If you think Will.i.am's not calling up Usher being like, let's do it. I got ideas. I'm going to come out with a space helmet and a cat. Jay-Z could come out. I could see Jay coming out. And Usher's a fantastic artist. He's a great singer. I think he'll put on a great performance. I don't think he's taking anybody's tits out. He's going to give us some fantastic dance moves to make fun of the next day. There was already videos coming out of him and baby Justin Bieber doing like the last time they performed. And they're like, oh, yeah, Usher's old. And it's just Usher going up, not singing, just being like, and Justin Bieber doing the same thing. And you're like, oh no, that could be the Super Bowl halftime show. Or it could be Usher, Jay-Z, Justin Bieber, Alicia Keys, Nicki Minaj, DJ Khaled, is coming out and saying something. He can bring out David Guetta. It could be dance infused. David Guetta can come out, pretend to DJ for a little bit. But moral of the story is not every Super Bowl halftime show is for you. Last year, 113 million people tuned in to the Super Bowl. 113 million people. That's a third of the people that are in the U.S. A little under a third. Not all of you are going to be happy with the Super Bowl or who's announced, but the job of the halftime performance is to entertain you. And I think Usher will do just that. So relax. It's the Super Bowl. It's not about the halftime show. It's about the teams playing. The halftime show is the cherry on top. And I think Usher will deliver. And you heard it here first. But that about wraps up Sports on the Rocks with Ken Larimer on this September 26, 2023. You can always find the podcast released on Tuesdays and Thursdays on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on YouTube. Please like, follow, subscribe if you enjoy the podcast. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, at Sports OT Rocks. You can always search Sports on the Rocks with Ken Larimer. And I hope you enjoyed the show. I'll see everybody on Thursday when we preview the football weekend and have a few interesting stories. And I appreciate everybody listening. This is Ken Larimer with Sports on the Rocks, signing off. I'll see you on Thursday.